Hello, this is the Monster Mash podcast. I am your host, Sir Monster. This is my co-host, Joe Mama.
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, he's a bit quiet today. Bit of a frog in his throat. But anyway, this is the podcast that we talk about things, and hopefully you'll be walking away feeling enlightened by these things. But today is a very special episode, unlike any of the other ones. Yeah, I got new posters. Yeah, that's not really the highlight here, but we've finally got a third person on a show. And I know you're probably thinking, we finally got Waltronus Maximus on here now. Now he's still he's still clocked out on this. I invited him to this, but he decided that he wasn't coming. But no. Fine. We've got somebody better than this. Yeah. Waltronus, if you're watching this, yeah, we got somebody better than you on here. This we got here, you've probably seen by the title, so you're probably not even wondering if it's Waltronus or not. We've got my crazy uncle right here. Crazy Uncle.
Hey guys, a big fan of the show. I've been following all the episodes and I've been taking notes, and it's obviously an objective of 2021 to finally get a slot and be interviewed on your show. Looking forward to the discussion and the dialogue, and I've been thinking a lot about it and preparing for it. So really stoked. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone's welcome on here on the show. So I was going to introduce him myself, but he's kind of done that already. But Crazy Uncle, tell us a bit about yourself. What makes you worthy of being called Crazy Uncle?
Well, I appreciate that introduction. I think that the Crazy Uncle, it's an apt title. I've lived a very incredible life, I would say. I've lived 4.5 years myself, my life outside of the country, and a lot of different places, and had a lot of incredible experiences. But I would say of the 4.5 years, outside of the United States of America, I would say 2 years, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, during the late 90s. So that was a time when, we were, the country was actually at war with Serbia. I was living right there on the border, Hungary and Bulgaria. And so just basically after college, I was just traveling alone, and was an English teacher for a couple of years in those two countries. And so, picked up Hungarian, picked up Bulgarian as languages, adapted myself to those two cultures in the late 90s at a time when, that wasn't a time when those countries were popular. There weren't any guidebooks. There wasn't really the internet to guide you. And so, I went from kind of a suburban Illinois life to Eastern and Central Europe, and just learning to becoming a different person in a different culture. I spent a good chunk of my life in corporate America, rising up to the top. In the middle of my career, I took some time off, another 3.5 years, to live in South America. I basically cycled from the entire continent, on top of Argentina, all the way to the bottom of Argentina, passing through Paraguay, passing through Colombia, passing through Chile, and up and down the Andes about 12 times, and living basically like a savage in a tent in the desert, in the winter, in the cold, speaking both Portuguese, speaking both Spanish. Lived in Brazil for a year. Then, during that time, I also moved back to the States, and I worked as a fisherman and a dockman in Alaska, going on 5-day long line voyages in Alaska, catching halibut and Pacific cod. And then I moved back to the United States, and I made my way back to corporate America, where I rose to the top. And so, I'm sure we could fill in the blanks, but life is an adventure. I've always tried to press myself. I've always tried to challenge myself. I like cultures. I like responsibility. I like authority. I like physical challenges, and like meeting human beings and learning how they solve their problems. And so I know that's quite a whirlwind of an introduction, but I'm willing to fill in the blanks. So you guys go ahead.
Yeah. Sometimes we need a whirlwind. I think that is a remarkable introduction. I sometimes fall asleep during other people's introductions, but never falling asleep during Crazy Uncle's introductions. You didn't fall asleep, did you, Joe?
Nah, no sleep.
Looks like we still have Joe's attention. So yeah, Joe, you still awake?
Yeah.
we're going to be moving on to our first topic here, a topic that that Crazy Uncle is very into, especially nowadays. That is the subject of boxing and mixed martial arts.
Sure. So I would tell you that probably at age 8, I was introduced to martial arts. This was not a time when, you know, jujitsu and was something that was very integrated into the martial arts environment. You know, mixed martial arts did not exist until I think the first fight, I think it was 1997 in actually Denver, Colorado. But I began 5 years of karate. I did kumite, which was sparring, and kata, which was a display of forms. And so that was where I think I had the genesis of my interest in combat sports. Later on, I would train in boxing and would use a 4-ounce gloves and 16-ounce gloves to train. I currently use both in my preparations. But, you know, I think mixed martial arts is a balance between finesse, cardiovascular fitness, and tapping into kind of primitive instincts and to bring out the best in us and to maintain a balance of control and discipline. And I think it teaches humility. Anytime you're challenging an opponent, you recognize the fragility and humility in the human condition. You actually recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, and you recognize that you're probably not as good as most people. And it really helps to size one up. I think that people that train in mixed martial arts certainly are never looking for a fight. They're constantly humbled and exhausted by their training. So for me, with the hours that I work and with the strengths and the challenges that I face every day, it just helps to keep me humble, it keeps me fit, and it hones me mentally and physically. And then as a spectator, I certainly enjoy the sport. There's so many depths and nuances to the sport. You have your grapplers, you have your strikers, you have your wrestlers, you have those who are strong kickers, have strong elbows, who have strong heel hooks, and you're constantly seeing the greats get knocked off their block. I think the only person that I've ever seen really remain undefeated was Khabib Nurmagomedov, the great Dagestani. And so anybody that can triangulate the both being a spectator in MMA to a trainer, training in the sport, understands how absolutely dedicated these athletes have to be to maintain commitment to their sport. And so it's really a great sport. And fitness wise, you know, really to maintain fitness, to compete in these sports, it requires ultimate commitment. So I mean, I think that the sport's a great metaphor for life, and just it's a good way to maintain physical and spiritual consistency.
Crazy Uncle, so you've just recently been well, not just recently, but you know, as recent, you've been really into you know, the subject of boxing. Obviously, you've done like karate for a long time. So what is boxing doing for you now?
So I think boxing is a great metaphor for balance and skill and anticipation. It's a very intense sport. I would tell you that most of my routines, heavy bag routines, don't last more than 20 minutes. Most of them last 12 minutes. And it really is a way to drill into a different level of perception. You begin your routine, you're gauging your level of fatigue and strength and balance. The bag is swinging, you're rotating around the bag in anticipation of a simulated stalking of your opponent. You're using your entire core and body to duck and slip. Most of a boxing routine on a heavy bag is actually a practice of not getting hit. Yes, you are striking, you're throwing elbows, you're throwing uppercuts and jabs and straights, but majority of it is actually creating a rhythm to disrupt your opponent. You're not doing something predictable. You're doing something akin to ballet. You are dancing around a bag. You are trying to create a symphony of movements to disrupt the perception of your opponent while while actually then creating various offensive and defensive postures. And so it is a thinking person's game. It is really an application of chess, using the entire corpus of one's physical system to apply what one understands about existence itself in the form of form and matter. And as anyone knows, when you're watching a truly skilled boxer, such as Mike Tyson, and you're watching really just matter itself expand into a symphonic expression of existence. And so boxing is really a way for one to apply many of the lessons and the patterns that one acquires through existence itself. If you think about ballet, for example, think about football. One of the greatest wide receivers in football, Walter Payton, he practiced ballet. Why did he practice ballet? Because he had to basically dance on his feet to catch something at the last moment, extending the last inches of his hand to catch a ball before he went out of bounds. And similarly, in boxing, as within basketball, you're basically trying to maximize the extension of your reach in order to get around and then connect. And so it's about anticipation, awareness of one's extremities.
I wholeheartedly agree. That might be good information for somebody who's watching this, who might be wanting to be getting into boxing and mixed martial arts. I would wholeheartedly recommend that. I've gotten into that myself, and it's very good mental and physical training, I would say. Now into the next topic here. Big man here, he's been around, like he was saying, he's been around the world. Not the whole world, but a lot of it.
Good chunks of it. Chunks of it. Yeah.
Like he was saying, he biked through the entire portion of South America, and he has had some very frivolous journeys doing that, and experienced a lot of different cultures.
Sure, it's a great introduction there. So I mean, I would tell you that the journey of the bicycle is something that simplifies travel, because you at the one time have everything that you need with you. So you kind of like, it's like the cowboy metaphor. You have your horse, you have your saddlebags, and that's it. So you really have to focus and concentrate on what you need to get you where you're going. And you realize at that moment that you need very little. Everything in your garage, you don't need. Everything in your closet, really, you don't need. You need your food. You need the clothing that is going to protect you from the elements. You need your shelter, your tent, your sleeping bag, your ground pad. You need the tools to repair your bike. And you're spending your days physically moving across the earth. You're not using a motorcycle. You're not using a car. This is not an airplane. This is not a bus. You are recognizing your own physical fragility, your knees, your arms, your back, and the fragility of your horse, that is to say your bicycle, your bags, your tent, and you're carrying yourself across hundreds and hundreds of kilometers to get to your objective. And you're recognizing the patterns of the earth. You're recognizing the changes in elevation. I was going up to as high as 12,000 feet in the Andes. You're ascending and you're descending. You're dealing with wind. Wind is very hard to calculate. I mean, you can deal with distance, you can deal with climbing, elevation, but wind is something that appears out of nowhere. Its intensity is impossible to predict, and its impact psychologically and physically is something that literally puts you at the mercy of the gods.
Including unexpected bulls out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, that's one time I was at a good spot. It was southern Patagonia. This was Chile, and there is this route that goes through a very remote part of Patagonia. It's called the Carretera Astral, and it's all unpaved. It's deep, wet gravel, and it's slow going. And this was a time it was very strong. I'd been cycling for months and months and months, thousands of kilometers. I was probably 3 weeks away from the terminus of my South American journeys, at least as it related to the Southern Patagonia portion. Very strong cyclist, but I'm carrying, candidly, 50 pounds of gear. It's deep and wet gravel. And interestingly enough, 2 dogs had become our friends, had escaped this strange village on this fjord. And these 2 dogs, male and female, we called them Furioso y Rápido, Fast and Furious. My Chilean counterpart named them so. And so the story goes, there are no farm animals down here. There's just 2 types of animals. There's the ñandú, which is basically the ostrich, and the guanaco, which is what you would call llama. And there's just 2 wild animals, really no snakes, no bugs, no farm animals. And so we would have not expected any sort of a beast to be chasing us. But anyway, so the dogs go off and they go into the dense bush. And suddenly I see a large bull, huge horns, 1,000-pound bull charging at me. And I say to my Chilean counterpart, Carlos, toro. And he says, sí, campeón. He used to call me campeón, champion. Toro. No, I say, es una toro de verdad. Pendejo. I said, no, it's a real bull. The idiot dogs somehow found the only bull that's not supposed to exist in the middle of Patagonia. And this bull wants to clean our clocks. I mean, this bull just saw us. And I went from going, I don't know, 8-9 miles an hour. Now you might say that's pretty slow going, but it's like, yeah, that's just how it is when you're on this type of a trip. You're not Lance Armstrong. Well, I went from that 8-9 miles an hour to Lance Armstrong speed. I will promise you, I was going 20 miles an hour, slightly uphill, wet, mushy gravel. And my buddy Carlos saw that bull, and we were just suddenly just unestimable speed. And the bull gave up. We went away, and the bull just recognized that we were faster. But it was amazing that these stupid dogs didn't get gored. They had no idea what a bull was. They just thought, oh, new friend. Didn't understand. They wanted to play with them. But yeah, I found some power in my legs that I didn't know was within my powers.
It's like that old wives' tale. The old lady sees a child get run over by a car. The car wrecks. She runs out and picks up the car. It's true.
Yeah. I never believed those stories until a similar metaphor occurred. And yeah, it's possible. When your life is on the line or someone else's, yeah, you can find a different reserve of power. Yeah, no doubt.
It's very interesting. So earlier when we were talking about different cultures and what they celebrate, so you've been around South America, right? What was the most interesting thing you found to celebrate there?
Well, South America is a place where in the villages, people take time to listen to each other's stories. And I was in northern Argentina in the desert, and one time I saw a strange sign, and it kind of said something like attractions. I was in the middle of nowhere, and I said, what attractions would be out there? And so one sign led to another, and I found basically a series of mud homes. And it looked like an old series of Indian villages. And the strange thing I saw on a post was I saw a chicken with its head cut off on the top of this post. And I got to a series of hammocks and shade-bearing shelters, and I couldn't find anyone, but I said, this is probably a good place to rest for a siesta in the middle of the day. under the shade. It was probably about 105 degrees outside. So I accommodated myself on a hammock. And about an hour later, I woke up and there was a man standing over me. And he ended up becoming a good friend of mine, Hector, but in Spanish, Hector. And he was a member of the local northern Argentinian indigenous people. And he had built this mini civilization for himself and his family out of these beautiful ceramic and mud structures, because you don't get a lot of rain out there, so the mud and the ceramic really holds up. And interestingly enough, he was the town's local barber, and people would come from horseback and car to get their haircut from him. And he was there obviously from time immemorial, thousands of generations back perhaps. And I spent 2 days with this family, and they led me on a series of hikes to point out the various spiritual milestones and important aspects of their culture. The sacred stream I drank from, and there was a way that you approached the stream and you cupped your hands and you drank the water, and the stars in the night. And they told me the stories of their culture, and how they had their own spiritual traditions, and they shared various meals with me. They made their own pizzas from their own flour, and with their own cheese and their own meats. And we played soccer together, the whole family, which is very, very popular sport there. And they talked about the changes of the intersection of modernity, the roads as they were built, the highways, and how they were trying to get involved in tourism. But one of the things I remember is, as Aitor was telling me his story, he paused almost in anger. He said, "Are you listening to me? Are you listening to me? And do you understand what I was saying?" And my Spanish was fairly good at that time, but I thought it was, well, obviously gringo, you speak English as your native tongue or whatever language you speak, but are you really listening to me? Because I'm trying to tell you something. I'm trying to tell you something about myself and my culture. And I told him, I said, 100% listening. I mean, that's why I'm doing this, is to meet someone who is outside of my horizon of experience, and to learn something different. And I think as you gain more of those experiences, you gain what I would characterize as the gift of the traveler. People understand that you have been through that you've sacrificed courageously, you've arrived with an open heart, and you've listened to someone who is outside of what you would call your normal day to day. And you listen to how those people cope with life, how they solve their problems, and you listen to their history. And that was fairly early in my journey. I mean, I made my way all the way through Brazil, but as I began to gather those experiences, the next village I would encounter kind of almost would mark me as someone with an open heart, someone who has listened, someone who can listen. And what I found is that people would tell me their stories in a way that you would never expect. People would welcome me into their homes, to camp in their front yard, to share food with me. And that was my journey. That was my voyage, is that just I was treated everywhere I went. And these are supposed to be dangerous places, A lot of places I went are you're just supposed to get murdered. Well, not only did I not get murdered, no, people treated me like I was their long lost son. A lot of different cultures, a lot of different villages. And that is the gift of the traveler. Maybe I had Forrest Gump luck. Maybe I was lucky. But I will tell you that I had a very optimistic view of the world.
I remember you were telling us this story about an encounter you had in Bulgaria on a certain pagan holiday. Tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. So that was a very interesting holiday. It's called Kukuri. And so, basically the culture goes back tens of thousands of years, who knows how long. And the culture goes back to what you call pagan rituals, and of course that's probably not the correct term, but the part of the culture requires a fright mask, and the mask represents various spiritual essences of the season, and the main aspect of the festival is where the men wear the fright masks, and they go around door to door, and they're drinking the local fire water, perhaps as an alcoholic beverage, and they're knocking on the door and they're asking for a dried pretzel called a gavretzi. And you knock on the door and you give the pretzel, and you're kind of like giving a offering to the local spirits, and
Ward them away.
Yeah, to ward them away. And then there's more to the festival as well. But of course, I was not aware 100% of how the mechanics of this worked. And I had a neighbor of mine, great guy, his name is Lubo, fantastic person. But Lubo with the fright mask was not obvious to recognize. And one day I was in my apartment with my significant other at the time, pounding at the door, open the door, and I see this person with another person behind them wearing these fright masks in it. And I'm telling you, it's a very, very scary mask. It's made out of mud and straw, and it looks like a demon. And my first reaction is to obviously defend my household. And my significant other says, no, don't. I'm just about to grab the person and unleash hell. Obviously, that's Lubo. That's Lubo. Get a gavretzi. Excuse me. Don't destroy these demons at my door. I mean, that would be the logical inclination, right? Defend the household, and in fact, get the rest of the community to get these crazy people. And in fact, both of these gentlemen, they were imbibing in merriment during the day. This is a festival. They've been drinking the fire water. Okay, everyone's loose in spirits. But in fact, go grab some big dried pretzels that I had purchased earlier in the day from the town square to appease the demons at my door. So I invited the two gentlemen in. They stumbled in, and they really were stumbling in because they had been going to everyone's door, getting the gavretzi, and perhaps the other neighbors had been offering them the local fire water to imbibe in the merriment. And so that was my first introduction into kukri. Is when your neighbors knock, be generous, be graceful, and don't punch them, and give them pretzels. So that was my first introduction to Bulgarian pagan rituals.
All right, so next topic here is going to be coming as a bit of a surprise, maybe to some viewers here, just judging by the other topics that have been at hand. But this was coming about on me and Crazy Uncle. We're doing a family Zoom conference, and I just decided, kind of out of nowhere, to pull out these bad boys that I got right here, which are both the Infinity Gauntlet and the Nano Gauntlet. Yes, this is also technically a flex. Yeah, I do own both the Ultimate Collector Series Infinity Gauntlet and Nano Gauntlet. You've seen them before in the Flat Earth video, but just showing them off again. These beg to be showboated, right? But anyway, Crazy Uncle, since hence his name, was crazily fascinated by these pieces of handwear. And
well, I'll tell you, I am fascinated by them, and I think one of the main reasons is that the energy for each of these what's the technical term for these? Are they power gloves? Are they
gauntlets?
Gauntlets, right? Each of them has a unique stone that imports certain powers and/or characteristics. And I was wondering maybe if you could walk us through what these stones are and what the characteristics are.
All right. Yeah, sure. I can do that. I'm the host after all. So let's light them up here. So first of all, this one here, the Power Stone. and the Power Stone, hence its name, has it holds ultimate power. It's the ultimate destruction weapon. They used to the gods who were the part of the Eternals would use these. They were these giant people, and they would use these. They had the Power Stone in one of them had it in his staff, and he would use them he would just plant his staff down into a planet, and it would destroy the whole thing. And so, not to be taken lightly, even though it looks like a sucked on grape Jolly Rancher. It's
wouldn't that be funny if sucked on grape Jolly Ranchers truly were Power Stones, and all along we could be destroying planets left and right, and all we're doing is just eating them.
You cracked the code, my man. Crazy Uncle's code cracking at its best. But anyway, so we got what we got here. It cannot be touched. If you put your hand on this, you will destroy both yourself and everything else around you. So there's basically nothing undestructive that you could. There's no type of destruction that you cannot do with the Power Stone. And so
are you saying that if it was jewelry, that you really wouldn't have a whole lot of returning customers?
Yeah. You mean they would not return. I mean, you literally could not find the remains. They would be in flakes, really. Along with their house would be in flakes and chips. And so this next stone here is the blue one right here, which I guess would be the blueberry Jolly Rancher, or no, blue raspberry, what it would be, blue raspberry Jolly Rancher. This allows the travel of space. It used to be sealed inside what was called the Cosmic Cube, or the Tesseract, which was an ancient artifact that would it had some similar abilities to the Power Stone. It could harvest like space energy, and could do all sorts of things with it. When exposed to it, you could give yourself the ability. People who knew Captain Marvel, the Marvel character Captain Marvel, she was exposed to that and was able to harness photon energy. But the Space Stone, what is mainly used for in here, it can freeze things and people in space. It can also allow for space travel and teleportation. So that's really what the Power Stone is all about. Oh no, the Space Stone. Third one here is would be the Cherry Jolly Rancher, the Reality Stone, which, as its name is suggesting, has the ability to alter physical reality itself. It can be permanent or non-permanent, and can it can I mean what else can you do? It can bend reality to your will. And it has two forms. This other form is kind of like a sludge type, ever moving form called the Ether, which is it was hidden inside a mountain away from the Dark Elves, who were a race of cosmic elf creatures who wanted to use it to bend reality to their will and conquer realms and planets. And so they did end up receiving it, and they did some destruction, but not anything permanent. They were stopped by the God of Thunder, Thor. So that's where Reality Stone is coming from. It's just basically a manifestation of reality itself, and can just be bent to anyone's will.
You know what I do if I run into a bunch of dark elves? If I run into a bunch of dark elves, I'd take my my space and time stone, my raspberry Jolly Rancher, and I'd freeze them. Then you know what I'd do? I'd go punch them with my Power Stone. I'd go blow them to bits.
Yeah,
I don't want a bunch of dark elves bossing me around.
Yeah. It's the thing of this is that in history, nobody has ever wielded more than one stone, except for when the Mad Titan Thanos got his hands on this, the Infinity Gauntlet, which was the only piece of the only thing that could hold all 6 of more than one Infinity Stone. The only one that could hold more than one, and he got his hands on these and did some damage with them. But next one here on the 5th finger here is the orange. That would be the orange Jolly Rancher, the Soul Stone, which is a stone that that one is quite complex, because that one it has a whole realm inside of it, which is a realm where you go. If you use the stone to its full potential, you will go into the realm where you will meet a departed soul, the one that's most important to you, and they will like discuss something with you, like Thanos, the Mad Titan, when he first used the stones, he met his daughter, his adopted daughter Gamora, and she asked, was it worth it to use the stone, because he used the stone to wipe out half the universe's population. So so his daughter came to him inside when he got teleported inside the stone, basically, and his daughter came to him and said, did you do it, and was it worth it? And so that one is quite complex and can use it also has been used to bring the souls of the dead back.
Question: when he wiped out half the universe, what stone did he use? A stone?
The only way he could have wiped out the universe is he used all 6 stones. You get all 6 stones. I mean, they were created when the universe was formed. All the stones were, and so since they hold the power to basically the universe, you do anything to them. What he did, he put the glove on and he snapped his fingers, and that's what he did.
So when you use the whole gauntlet, they work synergistically together.
Yes, yeah, that is exactly it.
Now, does the orange stone, is it a good source of vitamin C?
Yeah, I think if you're able to withstand, I think it's kind of like an everlasting gobstopper. If you suck on that, no mortal being has ever been able to do that, nor should you ever do that. I do not recommend that. But yeah, it might be just nobody's been able to withstand it. But
can I ask a question, a clarifying question on the soul stone? You said you referenced it as being the realm of departed souls. Is it someone who's very distant from you, or is it someone who's dead?
Although it does not have to be exactly that, because when Tony Stark, when he used the stones to he got his hold of the stones, and he was able to reverse the effects of the snap, and he brought back the other half of the population. When he was transported there, he met a future version of his daughter. So it does not actually have to be somebody who is dead.
It brings you in contact with a person, the soul of a person that isn't necessarily in existence now.
Yes.
It could be in the past and it could be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting because the cosmic cube can go back in time as well, correct?
Yes. Well, that would be the time stone here, which I'll be explaining in a bit.
Okay.
But no, cosmic cube, that's only space. That's
okay. That's space. Only space. Okay, got it.
And so yeah, but like you were saying, the time stone here, that would be the I don't know, that would be like the kiwi flavored or lime flavored Jolly. What's green? Green apple. Oh, green apple. Green apple Jolly Rancher.
Green apple. Oh yeah, green apple is kind of like an iconic Jolly Rancher.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this, like you were saying, this controls time. This you can what you can do with this is you can alter the passing of time yourself. Like what you can do is, for example, when Stephen Strange, the master of the mystic arts, when he was using this, he used it to uneat an apple. He was eating an apple, and he used the time stone to reverse the apple's basically its life and made it like into a whole apple again.
Yeah, good move.
Yeah, and it can reverse or induce effects of time. And he also then used it to show the apple's future, and he made it like completely eaten and then rotten.
It's also a great technique for sustainable farming, because you basically you eat an apple and then you get to undo it and you get to eat it again, and it's kind of the ultimate in sustainability.
So the sixth and final stone is this one right here, which would be the lemon flavored Jolly Rancher, is the Mind Stone. The Mind Stone is able to give things. It's really what we've seen it be used for is two things: mind control and mind giving. So what it's been used for, the god of mischief Loki had the stone in his scepter, and he was using it to control people. He would all he would be needing to be doing is tap it on one of any victim's chest, and the energy would transfer, and they would be under his control and would be able to be doing whatever he would ask them to do. And they've also been used. This stone has also been used to bring to life an artificially created human, an android, is what it's called Vision. And they put the stone in the center of Vision's forehead to give him life. He's part AI and then part really natural mind. So that's all we've been seeing the Mind Stone being used for. But there's also it definitely has some untapped potential that we're not completely in the know of as of yet. So that's all 6 Infinity Stones for you.
That's a pretty good portfolio, and you can see how combined that those 6 those stones could be quite dangerous, but also could be used for good as well, I would imagine, rather than just evil.
Yes, yeah, it all depends on who has them. The Infinity Stones, they definitely have a bigger world meaning than we might think they do.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they're represent some universal concepts. Digging into the fundamental structure of reality or ontology. I mean, you're dealing with time, you're dealing with perception, you're dealing with autonomous thought, you're dealing with the concept of the afterlife, you're dealing with the concept of space, and you're also dealing with the concept of just creation and destruction. So those are all fairly profound fundamental concepts.
I'm really excited to be talking about this one. This is a subject that me and Crazy Uncle have been discussing for a while. It's always a favorite topic of mine. A lot of other folks out here might call us nuts, but that's why he's Crazy Uncle. But so yeah, if you're out of the know that me and a lot of the members in my family, including Crazy Uncle, are firm believers in life on other universes and planets, and what you would call saucer men from Mars, which they can really mean anything. So real quick, what is the fundamental value of what aliens and I guess you would call them UFOs would mean and impacting the world?
Yeah, well, I mean, first I'll introduce the reasonableness of the concept of the term alien. I mean, fundamentally, the word in the English language just means something that is outside of our typical day-to-day experience. I mean, even if you look at the term used in immigration, the term illegal alien simply means something that is foreign, that is from outside of the cultural boundaries. But I'll build you a real-time example that will give you a fairly firm understanding of something that already is basically the definition of an alien. There was a Brazilian business person by the name of Ike Batista, who was using some fairly interesting technology to get to very remote places in the Brazilian Amazon to look for silver and gold and other minerals. And he was basically taking these multi-million-dollar Black Hawk type helicopters that could land in the most extreme conditions, and it would allow his team of engineers to go out to this remote Brazil Amazonian rainforest and do their engineering and exploration. And they just so happened to be landing in certain areas that had not had contact with civilization. I mean, these were folks that had, for hundreds of thousands of years, been living in the rainforest, had no contact whatsoever with electricity, with language, with anything, machinery. And so tell me, for these indigenous people that were living this traditional lifestyle, pre-literate, pre-technology, when Ike Batista was landing with his $20 million helicopters, was that an alien encounter? My response is 100%. Because what you have is you have a massive juxtaposition of two different technologies, one very, very high tech, one very, very low tech. And so fast forward to, the world has been around for hundreds of billions of years. There are billions of planets out there. There are billions of potential solar systems that could afford some sort of organic life, whether that life is carbon-based like ourselves, whether there's a similar language pattern, whether these civilizations are billions of years ahead of us technologically or millions. You have a variety of possibilities. But if even on our own planet, in the late 70s, one culture that was hundreds of thousands of years more advanced than another culture, and that's to say these high-tech miners versus the indigenous hunter-gatherer tribes in Brazilian rainforest. If you could even see such a juxtaposition on Earth, why could you not see a similar juxtaposition the whole universe-wise? Furthermore, I would point to the fact that there's a great deal of ancient literature, great deal of ancient archaeology that actually just blatantly points to extraterrestrial visits. If you look at the concepts, they're coming from the heavens, they're the wars in the sky, so on and so forth, or the incredible blossoming of technology that happened overnight in such sites as Göbekli Tepe, which was about 10,000 years earlier than the use of technology in hunter-gatherers. Yet these hunter-gatherers were, quote unquote, building very, very sophisticated structures, which were then coincidentally buried. Or if you look at the absolutely incredible and very difficult to understand structures created in ancient Egypt, or in the Mayan civilizations, where you had the cutting of stone, the placing of stone that really just looks like it could not have been created with the technology at that time. Triangulate that with the ancient stories of the Hindus and the Upanishads and the ancient Israeli documentation of who they believe the gods were, and the Greek and the Roman and the Sumerian and the Egyptian encounters of the gods. It seems like there was some sort of juxtaposition of a very high tech culture with a lower tech culture. And again, we've already seen this on Earth, well documented. Why can't we broaden our understanding to triangulate this with the broader solar system? So that's my preamble. I would follow up to say that, rather than, to poise this in some conspiratorial way. And again, the evidence for this is very much filled with conjecture. Although, especially if you're digging back to the ancient stories, I find it strange that everybody thought that the ancient people were just living in these wild metaphors, that everything was a metaphor. Every time they talked about the gods, they were talking about like the sky or the sun. And I really don't, I think that that's a very naive and limited way of interpreting the way they thought about the world. But I would tell you that the positive side of this is that if it's true that there are technologies out there, I mean, you gave a very nice rundown of these 6 characteristics of the stones. With what we've seen in terms of technology just in the last 20 to 30 years, I think it should be fairly inspirational for humans that there are possibilities of advanced technology for us to aspire to and mimic. And whether or not there are advanced civilizations that are still in existence today, I don't know. It's quite possible that there are only remnants and that we must aspire to kind of recreate their technology. If that's the case, I think it would be very inspirational and could be leading humanity to kind of reach a level of technology which would potentially be a very, very clever source of problem solving. I'm not married to any particular idea of when and if and where alien civilizations did or did not visit, but I don't think that the concept of advanced civilizations is by any means far-fetched.
Well, yeah, I'd have to coincide with you on that, because I've come across a lot of these people who are the debunkers. And I really kind of get agitated by them, not because I secretly think they're right, they're not, but they just are not, they're just really not open-minded. They think that they know everything. And I'd like to say this. All right, so one of the arguments I've been hearing is that they say, the amount of distance between our universe and any other universe is just, so far away. And yeah, that's right. I ain't saying that you're wrong on any level of that, but something they said, no type of spacecraft would ever be able to, make it over here. Well, I would just like to say that something that my grandmother always will say is that she said, she's been around for a while, and she said, when I first saw a TV get turned on, I was thinking that was a miracle. You never would have thought in my time that something like that would actually be possible. So, and then she said, how does a computer work? How does a microwave work? How do cell phones work? How does Wi-Fi work? And it just brings up the point of, people who were, a long time ago, before electricity was invented, you would tell them, like, the things will be powered by, the same energy that's in lightning. They would have laughed in your face and said, "What, you crazy? Get off whatever you're smoking." They would have said that. But now look at everything. So yeah, self-driving cars. The future is progressing rapidly. What's to say that there's not going to be an invention of a craft that can travel a long distance, a far distance like that, and at the speed of light? Anti-gravity. They're already developing things like that. They've already been developing at this one. They're already developing a spacecraft that could potentially run on zero matter, that could be able to get to a place to place in about 40 years to get to another star system. And that 40 years, that's a long time. But think of how what if there is a planet and a race of life and beings that have been around for many generations before us. What's to say that we are not alone? What's to say that we are not? We don't know what's out there. So how can we judge anything? So what is saying that there is not some advanced race out there who is technologically like generations ahead of us that have been around before us and have mastered stuff that we could not even dream of? What's to say that?
We've already seen that in my example with Ike Batista. We've already seen that juxtaposition with the hunter-gatherer tribes in the Amazon and in its high-tech helicopters. Like, we've already seen a juxtaposition of civilized versus or advanced versus whatever. And then your example of your grandmother as well is perfect. I mean, like, those televisions were these 300-pound black and white. You needed to put the antenna all the way on the top of the roof. The television, by the way, was live back then. It was live. Everything was live broadcast. And now, you watch Netflix on your phone. I think my biggest fear of advanced civilizations is we travel 10,000 light years away and Netflix is the same.
Yeah,
the same Walking Dead episodes. Like you escaped Earth, and the music is just as bad.
Yeah. That definitely is a concern. That's another thing for us to worry about. But we'll just hope for the best. We'll take that as a sign that we need to progress. There's all this evidence supporting that, like in the like ancient drawings, like you were saying with the gods. Where were gods coming from? Why is every nation since the beginning of time?
I encourage you to go to Berlin, Germany. I went to Berlin, Germany in 2017, in December of 2017. Accidentally, by the way. I was supposed to go to Greece, but there was a strike on the Lufthansa Airlines. And anyway, long story short, get to a archaeological museum in Berlin, and the Babylonian, the Sumerian, these are ancient 15, 20, 25,000 year old artifacts. And it's all hovering spaceship, man. It's all rays going down from the sun. And you could say, oh, well, they're just speaking metaphorically about the sun. And it's like, okay, keep telling me that they are worshiping the sun. Keep telling me that they're worshiping the sun. Nobody does that. These are very specific narratives. And they're talking about the gods who are ascending, the gods are fighting in the skies and all this stuff. And it's like, everybody says, oh, no, they're speaking metaphorically about the clouds and about thunder. No, they're not. They're speaking literally. These people didn't have time to speak metaphorically. They're very practical people, I write poetry every now and then, but most of the time when I'm telling you something, I'm not speaking metaphorically. I'm not speaking tongue in cheek. I'm actually speaking quite univocally. If I said to you that, hey, a car rear-ended my truck yesterday. Oh, he didn't mean that a car actually hit him. What he meant to say was that he had a conflict with someone with a different philosophy. No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a car hit me. It's like these ancients, when they were speaking, they were actually just saying how it was. Yet we always say, oh no, they were always speaking in such deep metaphorical and mass terms. Really? Okay, fine. But maybe not.
Yeah, like I would say, where are gods coming from? Why does every civilization since the dawn of time basically have their gods? Where is that coming from? Like you can't just say, like you were saying, that they're speaking metaphorically. There's a connection between all of them. If you just look into it, you'll actually see that we're not completely out of our minds. There's this and there's all these references to technology, technology back in the ancient times. There's these like pyramid drawings of people in helicopters. There's this what looks like a light bulb, the famous light bulb drawing. What it is this long thing that looks like just a long elongated light bulb with a coil inside it, which are kind of like the copper igniters in there. and it's connected to, it has like a cord, what looks like a cord coming out of it, and it's plugged into a box. What is that? You know, and the was quite fascinating to me is I think one of the most fascinating tribes and civilizations to ever worship the gods were the South Americans, because they were so dedicated to them. They would try to look like them. What they would do is they would, when their children were born, they would tie ropes and wood around their heads so they would grow outwards like that. And you know, what does that look like? The gray aliens anymore?
I arrived in a place in Colombia. It's called San Agustin, Colombia. I was on one of my cycling trips, and there were these statues. They would sell little souvenir gifts of them. There were these statues buried in the jungle that would blow your mind away. It looked like they were wearing space suits. It looked like a lot of these things were spaceships. They haven't even had the money to really uncover them. And look, the stone carvings that were in the middle of these Colombian jungles were way beyond the capabilities of anybody that lived there indigenously at the time. You know, to your point, there are these Mayan structures where the stones are thousands of pounds each, and they're absolutely micro cut, laser cut, basically. And the joining of the stones involves vitrification, which is a fancy way of saying that glass is being made. The heat that you need for the welds to occur between the stones is absolutely out of this world technology. But I'll go even further. Okay, look, 1776 is when the country was formed. Okay, 1492 is when they say the first settlers kind of came here. Now, it might have been the case that the Nordics came here maybe 300 years earlier than that. But in terms of the United States of America, for 1492, let's draw a line in the sand. Okay, then the ships, and that's a pretty interesting technology. I mean, the wooden ships that they built in Great Britain and Portugal and Spain were some pretty impressive things. I mean, they were built by hand, but I find it amazing that we built these things. They stayed afloat and they sailed across the Atlantic. I mean, that's amazing. Okay, so we get there, we land. Okay, our main technology is farming. We don't want to starve. Okay. A lot of years go by before we build skyscrapers in Chicago and New York City. Okay, I have a point. My point is the Egyptians, 25,000 years earlier, 25,000, were building the effing pyramids. Do you think that our sophisticated merchants arriving in the 1600s, when they arrived at America, would start building pyramids? They would have had zero idea on how to do it. Okay, help me understand the pyramids. Go build a pyramid now. It would be incredibly expensive. Very difficult, very expensive. Oh, well, they just had a lot of time on their hands. Oh, yeah, right. Like the population of the world was like 1/1000th of what it is now. And they just build those pyramids with just all that excess labor. Yeah, exactly. That makes so much sense. Makes zero sense. So the pyramid, and then they think that the pyramids are so old that one of the first structures actually existed when that area was a rainforest, which meant, last time you looked, Egypt's not a rainforest. Egypt was a rainforest like really, really, really long time ago. Okay, so now we're talking about time frames that just don't even make sense. That predecessed like the hunter-gatherers. I mean, there's so many different challenging narratives. I think it leads one to be very, very humble about the history of the earth, about the history of humans, and why not be humble? Why not be open-minded?
Yeah,
sounds like a much more interesting perspective than being closed-minded, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like I was saying, with the South Americans, they said their gods, they came down from the sun, They came down in I think they described it as like a light chariot that came down. What's a light chariot? You know, and they say like Quetzalcoatl, which is also a part of that culture, came down from space in a silver egg. A silver egg. What does that
And look
sound
at
like?
the Upanishads. Look at the Upanishads. Look at the book of Ezekiel and the Hebrew Torah. These are all fairly common stories.
Yeah.
And then look at Homer and Hesiod. Look at Hesiod's theogony. You know, look at the work of Homer. I mean, these are all fairly aligned stories. I mean, if this is a conspiracy, if people are making this stuff up, I understand it. You know, it's people are being stupid. But if all of these cultures are independently documenting the same story, it's very unlikely that they're just writing cool poetry. It's very unlikely that, you know, they just wrote. You know what they did 25,000 years ago? They just wrote really cool poetry because they were eating a lot of cool mushrooms. You know, I mean, maybe, but probably not. Maybe they were actually writing about what was happening.
Yeah, most probable. But like I was saying, that their gods would come down from the sun in a light chariot. They were looking, and they had elongated heads, and I think big eyes, and they were on the search for gold, and they're thinking that gold was probably used to power their craft. And so one of them did, the head god, you know, the general, would go around with his staff, and the staff was when he approached the spot that had gold underground, the staff apparently planted itself in the ground. What is that? Gold detector, anybody?
Sounds very identical to what you were just talking about.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, how you can only deny this stuff so much that it gets to the point where, you know, you just ought to kind of accept some of this. But yeah, no, I don't think that you know, alien believers are not in denial. I think it's the debunkers who are in denial. The real ones are in denial.
What I mean, if I could be so bold, you know, people are always trying to isolate and alienate this topic and they call it alien. But what if this is not a matter of denying aliens, which sounds like a very, very strange term, like you're not supposed to even mention it. What if this is just a matter of denying history?
Yeah, well, that was a quite enlightening discussion on that topic. But now for our final topic here is, you know, to add to all the craziness that we've just heard as of now, we are going to be going into this, venturing into this last topic that I've been saving for last intentionally. So Crazy Uncle here has you know, all this stuff that he's been explaining that he's been doing and has been studying. He is also a part-time philosophist. So yeah, would you share some of your basics about what you've been looking
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, you know, philosophy for me is about accounting for the meaning of experience. And that's a very unique thing, right? We're all individuals and we all have our unique perspective. While that's true that we're all unique, and we all should fundamentally create our own account for our individual meaning of experiences, there are some very good tools and techniques that I would recommend that people can use to cut out the BS, because there are a lot of false prophets and charlatans and people that are out there in the world to mislead others. And there are also, at the same time, a lot of good fundamental thinkers that have lived on Earth a long time ago and even recently, who can inform the thought process that can allow individuals to be stronger, to be more independent, and to have some good, clean and cogent thought processes. So I would begin with the ancient Greeks, and there are a lot of good textbooks that will bring you through the pre-Socratic thought process, Heraclitus and Parmenides, to Socrates, to Plato and Aristotle. And if we just talk about Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, three important Greek philosophers, right there, you have basically 99.8% of human thought right there. And that is where we as humans were talking about, what are we doing here on Earth? What is the nature of reason? What is the nature of evidence? What is the nature of logic? What is the nature of government? What is the nature of what is good and bad? Those are really important topics. And so I would tell you that if you can master the ancient Greek philosophers, you've really mastered the majority of what you need to master in terms of what has occurred in human thought. Strange that a lot of that stuff happened so long ago. Moving forward, we need to fast forward like 1,600 years from the time of Christ into to the early modern philosophy period, where you have thinkers such as Leibniz and David Hume and John Locke and Immanuel Kant. I don't know what happened then that precipitated this thought pattern, but science and modern science was one of the things that was precipitating it. And then the interaction of science and the authority of the Catholic Church was another thing that was really changing the way we thought about authority and what was right and what was wrong. But a lot of these thinkers, Fichte and Schleiermacher and Schiller, and going forward, later in time, we're talking about Fichte, and we're talking about Henri Bergson, and we're talking about Martin Heidegger and Jean-Paul Sartre. These were original thinkers who were trying to figure out the meaning of existence, and were doing it in a way that wasn't manipulative. They were shooting from their heart. All of these thinkers were deeply flawed, as we all are, by the way. They all made fundamental mistakes. But what was really cool about what they were doing is that they were giving it their best shot, and they were putting their soul on the line. And by the way, especially in the current generation of Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and all this stuff, you put your soul on the line, that on Twitter you can get crucified in 30 seconds. But these people were putting their whole life on the line in the form of text. And I guess it was a kinder and gentler world where you wrote a 700-page book and people read it, and they wrote articles, and in over 20 or 30 years people digested your work. Whereas on Twitter, you put out a 30-second or a 7-line thing, and the whole world likes you or loves you in a second, which doesn't make any sense to me. In any case, philosophy is a difficult and careful process. It's easy to get stuck in philosophy, meaning some writers are really hard to understand, require a lot of investment. It's easy to get stuck in the mud. It's important not to get stuck in the mud. Having a good guidebook, having good philosophy professors is very important. I had the fortune of having some very good examples, some good influencers in my life. I fear that today there are more bad actors out there than there are good actors, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope it still is the case that the people in the philosophy sphere are still good people that aren't trying to manipulate people. But I've heard some stories about universities and even high schools across the country where whereas philosophy should broaden your worldview about what's possible, there are people that are like these mercenaries that are trying to limit, like if you could see my hands, they're trying to limit what's possible. That's a very scary thing, because this is what's possible, not this. Anybody that tries to tell you that this is possible, they're a bad actor, and they're not to be trusted. I don't care what they're trying to sell you. Captain, as you and I have been talking about, what's the history of the world? Are we billions of years old? Probably. That's what's possible. Anyone that tries to limit your worldview, one, is not humble, and 2, doesn't have your interests in mind. But I would tell you that to fall back on fundamental logic and reason, that can't hurt you. And what I mean by fundamental logic and reason is intellectual consistency. So, for example, anyone that says to you, there is no truth, well, if they say that, that means that they're making a truth claim. Well, they just told you that there is no truth. Well, wait a second, if there's no truth, you can't say that, right? Because you just said there are no truth claims. So it's that kind of logical consistency. And it's like, I respect people that create their systems, and they're flawed. You know, they basically says, if this, then this, if this, then this. They're making a bunch of truth claims, and that's fantastic. And they're going to be fundamentally flawed, and no one's ever going to get it right. But it's the people that basically say nothing is true. They've just said something that's true. If you say nothing is true, you've just made a truth claim, and you've basically just shot yourself in the head, or sorry, in the foot. So be careful of those people. The ones that basically try to take truth and take a baseball bat to truth, they are fundamentally violating what they just said is not possible. If you say that nothing is true, you just said something is true. Don't listen to those people. They're total idiots. That's my introduction to philosophy. I can go into much more. So,
well, yeah, that was certainly an eye opener there. Well, yeah, you know, the craziness of the crazy uncle never fails to impress. You know, I think this is probably the most in detail we've ever gotten into the subject, and I think I think we've gotten some awakening, some enlightenment here. Anyway, I think we are just about going to wrap this episode up here.
And don't think I'm done, by the way. I got a lot more in me for our future interviews. Don't think that this is by any way a conclusion. Like we're gonna have some good discussions in the future. We'll have some. This is just a preamble, man.
All right. Well, I'll certainly be looking forward to this. We'll see if I think if people see this, they'll be dying for more of Big Man Crazy Uncle. But anyway, that is going to be it for our episode here. Again, this is the Monster Mash podcast. I'm Sir Monster. And my co-host Joe. He was his Wi-Fi went out a bit ago, so he'll have to say goodbye in the comment section. But anyway, Crazy Uncle, thank you for being on here. Real honor. I think you're going to make my channel take off here. I wildly appreciate it. So anyway, hopefully this has been a good source of enlightenment. It always is for me. But anyway, any parting words here, Crazy Uncle?
No, I look forward to the additional conversations, and I think that the topics we've just kind of really just hit the top of the nail, and there's a lot of content that we can break down over the next months and podcasts, and I really look forward to bringing into various groups of folks, anybody that wants to contribute and participate, and like the 6 stones would portend, our power stone, our space stone, our reality stone, our soul stone, our time stone, and our mind stone. We have a lot of opportunities, and we have a lot of responsibilities, and to discuss the various things that we can use positively and negatively to navigate our existence. I mean, that's what I think these discussions are all about. And I think that in our future discussions, we might want to thematically tag some of these concepts, some of these 6 concepts. So we'll work it out as we progress. But let's go. I think I look forward to the next dial-in conversation. And I think it'll be good. I think it'll be fruitful, and I think it'll be interesting.
All right. Well, that's sounding good for now. Stay tuned for more of Crazy Uncle and yours truly and Joe, wherever he is in space and time now. But anyway, like, subscribe, don't follow too close, keep the faith, and don't take any wooden nickels.
Don't take any wooden nickels.